Hey friends, you are crafting with Kim Byers at the Celebration Shop, and today we are going to answer a question, or try to answer a question that I get all the time. People are always wanting to know, what is the best Cricut machine to purchase? That decision is so personal based on how you want to craft and the things that you want to make. So what I'm going to do today is hopefully help you make a better choice by going through each of the 3 machines that are currently available being sold by Cricut. So there are 3. There is the Cricut Joy, there is the Cricut Explore Air 2, and there's the Cricut Maker. So we're going to look at each machine. I'm going to talk to you about what size they are, what they cut, what tools can be used with them, and hopefully help you make the very best choice for you. Okay, so let's hop over to the craft table and look at these machines. Okay, so here we are on the craft table, and this is a look at each of the machines. So this is the Cricut Joy. This is the Cricut Explore Air 2. And then this is the Cricut Maker. Okay, and as you can obviously see, the Joy is significantly smaller than the Cricut Explore Air 2. The Air 2 is actually a little bit smaller than the Cricut Maker, and it's not nearly as heavy. This Cricut Maker is actually very heavy. Okay, so what that tells me, like whenever I'm trying to explain this to you, is the Cricut Joy is going to be for that crafter that doesn't have a ton of space. You don't have a lot of space, you don't maybe have a dedicated craft room, or you're looking for a companion piece to one of the other 2 machines. This is actually a really great little Cricut if you are traveling, or if you like to go places and scrapbook and things together with other people. This is a perfect little machine. And then the Cricut Explore Air 2 does more and cuts more. So this guy cuts about 50 or so materials. This machine, the Cricut Explore Air 2, cuts roughly 100 or so materials, a little bit more. And then the Cricut Maker cuts 300 plus materials. So let's look at Cricut Joy specifically. So Cricut Joy is going to be able to cut 4.5 inches wide by 20 inches long. So you're going to be able to cut almost the length that you can cut with the Explore Air 2 and the Maker. This machine only has 2 tools basically. So it has its blade, and then you can also use pens with the Cricut Joy. So you can use regular pens or infusible ink pens with Cricut Joy. Okay, so you're going to be able to pick this up easier. You're going to be able to store it easier. It's not very heavy. You could travel with it. This is a great little machine. 50 or so types of material that you can cut. Okay, so now we come to the Cricut Explore Air 2. This machine comes in a variety of colors, so you can color coordinate it with your craft room. It does have storage space that you can, place your tools and materials within it. You can move it around. It's not excessively heavy. It does have a port so that you can use all of those older cartridges that you might still have if you have an older machine. And it uses the dial method, so you are able to choose things like poster board, paper, vinyl, and that kind of thing on the actual dial. You may have noticed with the Joy, there's no dial. Okay, everything is done through the app. And then you can also use a couple of different tools with this. So the Joy has a blade and a pen with the Cricut Explore Air 2. This is a scoring stylus, so you can score papers and things to make cards. It does have a fine point blade. All 3 machines have a fine point blade. This machine also has a deep cut blade. So you can have a deep cut blade, and you can use pens in the machine as well. So you can do the infusible ink pens as well as the normal writing pens. Now this machine, and I get asked this question a lot, can it cut fabric? The Cricut Explore Air 2 can cut fabric if it is bonded. Okay, so that means you're going to have some sort of backer or something on it, and it can't do anything delicate. But I will tell you that the Maker is going to cut fabric better than the Cricut Explore Air 2. That is just my experience. And you can, with the deep cut blade, you're going to be able to cut somewhat thicker items, but you're not going to be able to cut real leather. Like this will cut, faux leather, and you can cut some, smaller or thinner poster boards and things like that, but you're not going to be able to cut wood or real leather with the Cricut Explore Air 2. And now to the Cricut Maker. So when they created the Cricut Maker, they really took the best of everything that was about the Cricut Explore Air 2 and they took it up a notch. So used to, you had to buy a new machine each time they wanted to come out with some sort of new feature. What they did with the Cricut Maker is they truly created a way for them to be able to have additional tools without getting a new machine. So they have what they call this adaptive tool system. So what it does is it works on a gear system, and so they don't have to create a new machine every single time they want to add a new feature to it. So the Cricut Maker is not only the heavy duty cuts 300 plus materials, it's something that could continuously be added to. So it really would be like that last machine that you would have to purchase. So right now there are 9 different tools that you can have to go with the Cricut Maker. So there's the fine point blade that comes with the other 2 machines. And so you would have that here with your Cricut Maker as well. And then with that, they also have the pens, which you would be able to use pens with your Cricut Maker, just like the other 2 machines. But then after that, it gets a little more complex for the Cricut Maker. So you're going to also be able to have a deep cut knife blade. So instead of having just the deep cut blade that you would have with the Cricut Explore Air 2, the Joy does not have one at all. You would be able to have a knife blade, which is going to cut deeper. That's where you're going to be able to cut your real leather, and you're going to be able to cut like balsa wood and things like that with this machine. Rotary blade is how you're going to cut all of your fabrics. So literally it's on a swivel. That's the nice thing about this gear system. It's on a swivel, and so you're going to be able to do those intricate cuts and things around your fabric. You're going to be able to do that with this machine and without bonding the fabric, because it's not going to pull like a normal needle would. So when you go around an intricate piece with this machine using the rotary, it's not going to pull the fabric, so you're not going to have it bonded. So that's a big plus for this one, especially for anyone who loves to sew or even thinks about wanting to sew. And then you have a scoring wheel. So with the Cricut Explore Air 2, you have a scoring stylus. So you saw that was looked kind of like a pen. You're going to be able to score with that. But with this machine, the scoring wheel actually has 2 pieces to it. So you're going to be able to interchange them. So you're going to be able to score things. You're also going to be able to do things like debossing, engraving, perforating paper. So if you wanted to create like a Valentine that had like a card on it or something that you could tear off perforation, you're going to be able to do that with this. And most recently, there is now a foil transfer system that you can use with this machine. So you're actually going to be able to add an extra layer to your card making or whatever it is that you're doing. Weddings. I could only imagine the beautiful things that you could make with the Cricut Maker and that foil system for weddings. Okay, so those are kind of the basics of the tools. Of course, there's storage in your Cricut Maker as well. And then this little groove right here is actually perfect for your iPad or your phone. If you're using, either one of those to work with your machine, or if you're just putting something for inspiration up here so you can look at it. So this machine is going to kind of be the current end all be all. 300 plus materials with this machine. One other thing to just point out, again, going back to the Joy. The Joy has a card mat that is specific to it that will allow you to make cards. Now you can make cards with the Cricut Maker, but I have to admit that it's easy and simple and oh so fun with the Cricut Joy, which is why if you have a Cricut Maker, the Cricut Joy, even though it cuts, fewer materials and things, it is the queen of card making. And you can cut things with what they call smart vinyl or smart iron-on and that kind of thing, where you don't have to have a mat. So with the Cricut Maker, with the Cricut Explore Air 2, you have to have a mat. With the Cricut Joy, you do not have to have a mat if you have the smart materials. Okay, last but not least, let's look at what these machines can do. So let's look at some things that the Cricut Joy can make, the Cricut Maker can make, and the Cricut Explore Air 2. Okay, so let's start with the most common things. So all 3 machines can cut paper. All 3 machines are going to be able to cut vinyl. All 3 machines can cut iron-on, and all 3 machines can work with infusible ink, the transfer sheets, and the pens. And there are many more materials all 3 of these machines can cut. Remember, the Joy can cut 50 or so, 50 plus, the Explorer is 100 plus, and then the Maker is 300 plus. So there are more than just these. These are just the most popular. So let's move on to things that are special to each one of the machines. So the Cricut Joy is the only one of the 3 machines that has the card mat. Now all 3 machines can cut cards, but the Cricut Joy has that special card mat to do these quick cards. And next we have one of my favorite features. So print then cut is when you can design something in Cricut Design Space, flatten it, and then print it out on your printer and cut it with your machine. It is actually really simple, but it gives it that professional, beautiful look. It's only available with Cricut Explore Air 2 and the Maker, but that is just one of those really fun things to be able to use. Now we have foil transfer, and this is a fairly new tool. It came out in the fall of 2020, and this is basically where you're just transferring foil onto paper, but it can have beautiful results. And you can use both the Cricut Explore Air 2 and the Cricut Maker with the foil transfer system. So moving on to fabric. So the Cricut Maker was designed with the ability to use like swivel rotary blade, thinking like cutting fabric with your rotary blade. It's the same thing, but in the Cricut Maker. It is going to cut beautifully, and it's going to cut delicate fabrics and just deep cut fabrics. It's going to cut everything super well. Now the Cricut Explore Air 2 can cut fabric, but you're going to have to have it backed in some way. So it's not going to be able to just cut fabric that you just put straight on the mat. You're going to have to adhere a backer to that fabric. So my suggestion to you is if you want to sew, if you want to cut fabric regularly, I would go with the Cricut Maker over the Cricut Explore Air 2. Okay, so now let's talk deep cutting materials, things like wood and leather and that kind of thing. You are going to need the Cricut Maker to cut those really intricate, deep materials. Now the Cricut Explore Air 2 does have a deep cut blade, but it's going to be cutting just slightly thicker materials. It's not going to cut like those chipboards and wood and that kind of thing. You need the Cricut Maker for that type of material. And finally, to the specialty blades. And so these are the ones that are currently available, but I'm sure they're going to be adding more to these. So you have your engraving, debossing, your wavy, your perforation. These are specialty tools that are only available for the Cricut Maker because of that housing system that I showed you in the beginning. Okay, so what did you think? So did you make a choice? Were you able to answer that question for yourself, like which one is best for you? If I didn't answer a question that you've been dying to know the answer to, please put it in the description down below and I will do my very best to answer you. And I also put down there some links to the machines on Cricut.com so you could hop over and check those out. And I hope that you will hit that subscribe button and join me for all my future videos with your machine so I can teach you how to use Cricut Design Space, teach you how to use your machine, and we can just have fun crafting together. Okay guys, I will see you next time.